Did you take Roy Keane to Lords?
Well, I'm going. It's on my hit going to today's Test cricket because I actually need him to see the lull, of the bit where everyone goes, "Oh, cricket's really boring," and you go, "Well, no, everyone's in a bit of a holding pattern." That happens in football. You can have a holding pattern, and so we're just going to see what happens. I think he would understand that side of it rather than the wham bam of a 50-over game. I think so. I think England Australia at Lords. That's the aim.
I think Kevin read the game better than Harry does.
So we'd won in 2013. Then 3 months later, we're playing them again. And it was unravelling. And in Perth, Pietersen gets called at long off. Gucci goes nuts, who was the batting coach. I interviewed Pietersen. I went, "Why do you do that?" And he did come out with, "That's just the way I play." And I'm like, "Yeah, but you've got to look at the scoreboard." And I think that's what everybody's saying about Harry Brook. Look at the scoreboard. Smell the situation. When you're training people, TV or radio, but particularly TV, you've got to add to the why. Why is this happening? Now, that's my job to ask that question. You've got to learn to ask questions. Don't make statements. Ask questions. And I always put myself on the sofa at home. I watch other people all the time. And sometimes I go, "Are you going to ask a question or are you just going to make a statement?" You're never going to be the person on day one that you would hope to be. And obviously you just need people then to appreciate and understand that you might have a little bit of potential and see where that is.
Welcome to Close of Play with me, Sanjay Murthy. Joining me today is somebody you would have seen presenting ITV's football coverage, but he also has a fine cricket broadcast pedigree. To tell us more about that and what it's like to work with Roy Keane, please welcome to Close of Play, Mark Pougatch. Mark, how are you?
Sanjay, I'm very well, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, yes, funny enough, funny what you said in your intro. People come up to you and they go, "Can I ask you one question?" And I go, "He loves dogs, he loves chocolate, he loves a bet." And they go, "But you don't know what I'm going to ask you." And I go, "Yes, I do. I know exactly what you're going to ask me." And do you know what I've actually said to Roy before? I've said to him, because people know he's Irish, obviously, but he comes from Cork. So it's not like he comes from Dublin where there was a bit of cricket. I don't think there's much cricket in Cork. I said, if you ever want to go to Lords, I'm an MCC member. If you ever want to go to Lords or anywhere, just ask me. I'd love to take you to Lords. And I know lots of people would. I said, I think you quite enjoy it. So I will get there one day. We'll get him to Lords one day.
Well, you'll definitely enjoy the prawn sandwiches there, won't he?
He will, yeah.
And poor old Righty. Righty's such a nice guy, and everyone just asks you about Roy Keane all the time.
Righty likes his cricket. Yeah. I said to him once, actually, it's funny, I'm of a generation, Sanjay, I'm not going to try and say how old you are, but I'm a generation in the 70s and 80s. If I'd go to football, and obviously all football's playing on a Saturday, quite often it would say in the match day programme, wherever you are, "Oh, tomorrow the team are playing cricket," obviously it was August or early September, "in a charity game at so-and-so." So they played a bit. And I said to Righty, I went, "I've got a memory of you and David Seaman in the run-up to the FA Cup final in 1993 when Arsenal played Sheffield Wednesday. You two in the nets having and I went, yeah, we had a bit of a bat and a bowl." So they do like cricket.
Yeah.
Obviously, Gary Neville does. Lee Dixon likes
famously.
Cricket. Yeah. Obviously, Gary and Phil Neville, as everyone knows, very good players. And
Phil with Matthew Hayden.
Phil in particular could have played for Lancashire, maybe more. So there is Glenn Hoddle loves his cricket. Ali McCoy loves his cricket. Oh no, there's lots of cricket chat when we're about. 100%.
But just on the age thing, I did do some research, and I'm 4 months older than you, so I hope that makes you feel a little bit better about the whole thing.
Yes,
there you go. You see, aging me beautifully. Let's go back to the very beginning then. So, cricket. What is the background? Did you play at school? Where did you go to school?
Well, I've just realised that over my right shoulder, that black and white photo on my shelf is my dad, who sadly long since gone, was absolutely obsessed with cricket, but in a really good way. He was an only child growing up in the war, so I think if you think about all that, it was quite lonely. And cricket, there was a bit of cricket in the war, particularly because you'd have still reports on the radio and scores in the newspaper. So I grew up in a household, youngest of three. He loved the game so much, he started his own cricket club, which still I'm chairman today, 70 years next year, Wandering Cricket Club, because he wanted to play with like-minded people who wanted to win, but really wanted to have fun and be gregarious and sociable and families and an excellent tea. Oh my God, we had the best teas in England when I was growing up. So I grew up in a house where cricket dominated all summer, particularly for the men. It was the 1970s. It'd be very different today.
Yeah.
And I played at school. Let's cut to the chase. I went to private school, so the coaching was very good, and I could play, and I absolutely loved it, and I love it as much today. People, I tell you, I always say this little story, Sanjay. People say to me, "What's your favourite sport?" And I go, "Probably football." And they go, "I know that," and then I go, because cricket's not a sport. Cricket's a way of life. And then they get really confused. And I have to explain, I love football, I love rugby and racing. You know, those are games and sports. But cricket, it's so linked up with my dad. And as I say, with sociability and family and gregariousness and a way of life, it's far more than a sport.
Yeah.
I was talking to a friend night before last, who's a big Liverpool fan. Texted me and said, "Oh, Liverpool are rubbish, aren't they?" He went, then he said, "But there's nothing that compares with the ebb and flow of Test cricket." And I just went, nothing. That's why it's the greatest of all. So I've been involved in it all my life. I worked a lot on it when I was at the BBC. I've got my Test match special tie. I'm incredibly proud of that. I did one Test match commentating against South Africa at Lords. But for 5 Live, I did 3 Ashes tours down under. I did 3 or 4 at home. I did a World Cup in India. I did a World Cup in this country. So I've done loads of cricket broadcasting. I mean, since I went to ITV, obviously I haven't. And that's okay as well, because cricket's now my escape. I go to Lords. No one has to ask me to work. I know where my seat is and where the bar is, and I'm as happy as Larry.
What else do you need to know? Actually, there's a few similarities there with me, actually. So my family is very cricket mad. And the only difference between me and them is they all grew up in India and I grew up here in England. Yeah. But my grandfather started a club in Bangalore called City Cricketers that produced Chandrasekhar and Anil Kumble and Srinath and those sort of type of guys. Totally cricket mad. And private school as well. Yeah. I went to Bedford School, great cricketing school. And Rod Capel, you remember David Capel?
Yes,
so Rod, his dad was our cricket coach at the time. And I remember, and I was talking to Geraint Jones about this, about when we were talking about coaching, and the Rod would stand in the next net to you with a javelin. If you played an unorthodox shot in any way, shape or form, you backed away to leg side, you'd get a javelin up your jacksie, which was never a great thing.
My God, imagine what you'd be doing today then with everything that's going on.
I'd be encouraging you. Yeah.
I've been to Bangalore. I did an A tour.
Did you?
I did an Indian A tour. 30 years ago, it was during an Ashes test. I never forget it. And we went to Bangalore, which was lovely. And we were playing golf at the Tollyguns Club in Calcutta. And I was on my backswing. There were only about 4 journeys on this tour. And somebody came racing up the drive and went, "Mark Pougatch, who was on the A tour, has been called up to the Ashes tour because there was an injury." So I literally dropped my driver and, ran off to the airport to interview before he went. So watching cricket in India. I mean, I went to the World Cup final when India beat Sri Lanka. It was unbelievable. Unbelievable day. Almost as big as the semi-final in Chandigarh where India beat Pakistan, which on every single level was off the scale. So I love it. I absolutely love it.
I told you off air that before doing this, I had an ad agency in tailor-made golf for our biggest clients. And we ran a couple of golf days with the England football squad. So we had some merchandise. I had a official England with the England badge on tailor-made golf shirt from that day. And we were in Bangalore, and I think it's it's around about 2000, 2001, because England were on tour there, I remember. And we went to like a historical site, myself, my dad, my sister, and my brother-in-law. And we're just looking at this thing. My dad he tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Look behind you." I looked behind me. There's a load of Indian guys just stood there staring at us. And I realized they were staring at me because I had an England shirt on. So I went over and I signed a load of autographs just so they think I was Mark Pougatch. So there's a load of blokes rocking around India.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was me. So there you go. So so the BBC cricket work, you did that for a long time, TMS, say 5 Live. What are your sort of earliest sort of Ashes memories, either on that tour or outside of that?
Well, my very, very first Ashes memory was being a 7-year-old and being ill and being let off school by my mum and Graham Gooch getting naught on his debut. That was an Ashes test, 75. He got a pair. So
He
I
got a
remember,
pair.
yeah, he got
Yeah.
a pair. So that was my first. That's my first Ashes memory. And then I'm just thinking what my first Ashes memory working was probably 2005. So Five Live went big on that. I remember being at Lord's on the opening day, and then before the last the Oval Test, the Five Live boss, a man called Bob Shannon, who's a great supporter of many of us, rang me up, and he went, because this is the biggest test match in 30 years, we've made a decision that we Five Live are going to do ball by ball as well as test match special. And I'm like, well, can we do that because of Ofcom or something? He went, yeah. And of course, it was still, because that's 20 years ago, still not every car would have had DAB or whatever. So some people in cars would have still needed medium wave to listen to the cricket because they wouldn't have been able to get ball by ball because it's 20 years. So I remember that was my first. That was, in terms of broadcasting, that was probably my first big memory, and especially Pietersen in the last afternoon. Was all the shot I remember more than anything else was obviously Brett Lee bowling, and he kept smacking him over deep square leg. But actually, that's not the one I really remember. It's when he flat batted him back down the ground. Do you remember? He just stood there. He just went
stood there,
bam, cross bat, bam, straight back whistled straight back past Lee's left hand for four. I'm like, blimey. Because at lunchtime in the press room at the Oval, all been queuing up. Remember, England were about 40 ahead, 5 down. And I turned to Dean Wilson, who was the guy who wrote for the Mirror, really lovely man, Dino. And I just went, oh my God, it's happening again, isn't it? We're going to get rolled out for 120, and they're going to win by 7 wickets, and it's going to be 2-2, and England aren't going to win. So Pietersen doing that was just unbelievable. And that, for me, that was the start of. So between 2005 and at the end of 2013-14 Ashes, I did 6 Ashes series, 3 at home and 3 away. Yeah, which was, so, there are not many of us, Sanjay. I've seen England win the Ashes in Australia twice.
That's what I was going to say to you, yeah.
Twice. Because I was there in 86, 87 as a 19-year-old on my gap year, working in a hotel bar, working in a gold mine in Kalgoorlie, working in Sydney Hotel. And in the last test, in Sydney, the Peter Who test, where they picked Peter Taylor by mistake, and they did. They meant to pick Mark Taylor. My friend Rob and I were working in the New South Wales Cricket Association dining room. So, I would give Michael Parkinson his lunch every day, and I'd give Geoffrey Boycott a cup of tea at 4 o'clock every hour. And my mate Rob nudged me, go on, have a chat with Geoffrey. You want to do this for a living? Little did I know, I'd go and work with Geoffrey. So one day after about day 4, I went, Geoffrey, did you ever make any runs here at Sydney? And he was like, runs! And I looked it up. He made 170 odd in 70-71. So it's brilliant. So I've seen England with and then obviously I was there working in 10-11, which was, that's what I wish this England team would do now. Bat long, like Cook particularly, batted so long, exhausted their fast bowlers who weren't prime fast bowlers. Hilfenhaus and Siddle and Harris had their day, but they weren't. And Mitchell Johnson, remember in that series as well. But they weren't. I wanted them to bat long, exhaust them, give their own fast bowlers, obviously Anderson and Finn and Bresnan and Broad, a chance to put their feet up and get into them. So yeah. Not many of us have seen England win the Ashes twice down under.
No, that's quite spectacular. And we're actually recording this whilst the second test at the Gabba is going on. And it'll come out, I think, just after Adelaide or around Adelaide. And a lot of the news at the moment is around Harry Brook and the way that he is batting. And I was talking to Geraint Jones, with whom I do an Ashes review on this podcast. And I made the comparison between Harry Brook and Kevin Pietersen. Both actually at this stage of their career, the numbers are pretty much the same. The way they play, the way they get castigated by the public at large and the media is the same. Just I think Kevin read the game better than Harry does. And I just wonder whether Harry would benefit from going to talk to KP.
Yeah. I think KP's whole "that's the way I play" was more and more towards the end of his career. And on his last tour, which was the last one I did, which was 13-14, when England... Well, remember, we'd had an Ashes and should never have back-to-back Ashes in the same calendar year. It just doesn't work. So we'd won 2013. Then 3 months later, we're playing them again.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was unravelling. And in Perth, Pietersen, so we're 2 down, hacks, I presume Nathan Lyon, into the Fremantle doctor, gets called at long off. Gucci goes nuts, who was the batting coach. And at the MCG, I interviewed Pietersen. I went, what do you do? Why do you do that? And he did come out with, that's just the way I play. And I'm like, yeah, but you've got to look at the scoreboard. You have to look at the scoreboard. And I think that's what everybody's saying about Harry Brook. at the Oval against India, in Perth, in the first innings at Brisbane. Look at the scoreboard. Smell the situation. Appreciate that. The most significant thing so far, Sanjay, that was said on this Ashes tour was after the Perth Test. This is for me. After the Perth Test, Justin Langer on TNT, who comes from Perth, of course, who said you've got to respect the game. And he was talking, and you've got to respect the Perth pitch. Now, they didn't respect the Perth pitch, in my view. You don't go hard at it. I knew that. The first day, standing by the Wacker nets in 206, talking to people, going, what happens here? They go, you've got to play the ball under your nose. Only drive it if it's under your nose. You can't go hard at it with your hands. So they got that horribly wrong. They should have known better in Perth. But respect the game is more relevant to what we're saying about Harry Brook now. Look at the scoreboard. Understand it. We go back to law. I still haven't got over Sanjay, England against Australia at Lords in the last Ashes when Nathan Lyon's crocked and England are happy hookering their way to getting caught at long. Just play the game. They're a bowler down, exhaust their fast bowlers. You can bat them out the game here. Smell the situation.
What's interesting today was that Bryden Cast, they went to the short ball theory and it did eventually kind of work. And is there a comparison to be made between Douglas Jardine and Ben Stokes, just in terms of the belligerence and the will to win and sod the game, sod the respect for the game and the tactics? We're just going to win it.
Well, I mean, obviously they want to win. I just think sometimes they just get a bit. Is the word carried away? Maybe it is just carried away with it all. Maybe they're just occasionally, as the French say, just a little bit of du calme. Just whoa. What's going on here? Listen, that's what Joe Root's done, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Did we all not say years ago, Joe Root is just a sensational batsman? And if Joe Root reverts to being Joe Root and not with a bit of baseball on top, then we'll see it. And that's what he's done, hasn't he? He's reverted to being Joe Root.
He's the glue.
And now he's the brilliant Joe Root again. He didn't need the baseball bit on top, did he? He didn't need it. No, he understands the game, when to consolidate, he did it in his innings at Brisbane. Brilliant. If you look at the three parts of his innings, he did it absolutely brilliantly. Went to consolidate, went to accelerate. So I just, they've got so much to offer and they're so good to watch. Sometimes I just think, please just look at the scoreboard and have a bit of game management about it.
So from a media perspective, you're obviously a presenter now. You've interviewed, but you've also done a bit of ball by ball.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do when I started. I absolutely love ball by ball. Especially on radio. I mean, it's fantastic. And because I worked in local radio, BBC local radio, I worked in Essex, so I had 2 seasons commentating on Essex. Graham Gooch was captain. They won the championship. I think Derek Pringle might have just retired by then, but John Stevenson and NASA was in the team and people
Mark
like that.
Eilert, those sort of guys.
Ramble was in the team. Absolutely, Ramble was in the team. Peter Such,
Stuart Law, was he there then?
Who?
Stuart Law.
No, I think I missed Stuart Law. I saw Mark Waugh.
Mark Waugh.
So the summers I did were 92 and 93. 93 was an Ashes summer. So Mark Waugh was playing for Australia. Came back to watch Essex.
Really?
They had a little mobile caravan, betting caravan. Mark Waugh shut it because he cleaned them out. He'd clean them out. He was betting on the 345 from Nottingham. Had no cash left. They put the shutters down. He's absolutely cleaned them out. So doing ball by ball championship, doing ball by ball championship when you're at Derby or at Cheltenham or whatever was fantastic.
That's great.
They were proper festivals in those days. So I used to drive I can't remember what I drove. It must have been a 4x4. And we would literally tow the sort of commentary box in a caravan, and we go to Colchester and we go to Southend and we go to Ilford. I mean, there was proper festival stuff. It was brilliant. And we get any old player to come and sit with us, come and do the summarising or the 12th man or whatever.
Yeah.
It was absolutely for Keith Fletcher. It was absolutely brilliant. Yeah,
it's great fun. Yeah, I've been doing ball by ball.
Well, you're doing it now. You love it.
Yeah,
it's great, isn't it?
Down at the Utility, which is a bit sterile to an extent, but occasionally we go to Arundel and commentate from a tent there. Great place. Yeah. Fantastic.
Well, I commentated from, what was the old ground called in Hams? It was called Northlands Road.
Yeah, the one in Southampton. Yeah, by the Dell. By the football club.
By the Dell. Yeah, well, there you go. Both have gone. Yeah. I used to commentate there. Both gone. Yeah. Wow, that's a sign of the times, isn't it? Both gone.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
exactly.
brilliant. Ball by ball's great. And I think for kids starting today, I'm sure lots of 21, 22-year-olds get in touch with me. And I think it's part of my job is genuinely to talk to them. And I say, just commentate, even if you're sitting on your own at a championship game, go to Hove or the Oval or Headingley, and just sit there and commentate into your phone. The best advice is say what you see when you commentate. Keep your
Yeah,
eyes open. Look around. There's always something. Don't be afraid of a bit of silence. Funny enough, I have never listened back to my TMS, but if I did, I know the one thing I would have done is talk too much, because I come straight from presenting. Because I was presenting Sports Report, which is the quickest moving sports program on the radio and always will be. I did
yeah.
that for 60 years, so I know that I know that I would have talked too much. That even on radio, just occasionally little bit of silence doesn't go amiss.
Our
Yeah.
good friend Gavin Scovell has been doing some TV commentary training with me, and
Yeah.
I was dreadful for the
Yeah.
same reason, but the other way. Because on radio, as you say, you're in the flow. No one can see anything, so you're saying you're saying what you see. However, obviously on TV, people can see it. And Gav was saying to me, "You don't need to say that the bowler's running up; they can see it."
No, it's not
And it's a
easy
very different
TV
skill.
because you've got to try and add, and you've got to
Yeah.
Gab always said the why. It's not easy. That it's very simple. It's very simple to lapse into. Oh, that's gone behind square for 4. It's really challenging TV. I think. This is complete theory of mine. I wonder that's why former players find TV commentary easier because they know the
100%.
why. They know the why,
100%.
and they'll
Yeah.
go, the bowler just pushed that one a little bit wider because he's looking for some swing and he's overpitched it. That's why it's driven for 4. I
Yeah.
think they might find it a bit easier because instinctively they know it in a way
I
that
think
we can't. My theory always been, if you cover a sport, whether you're presenting or commentating, as you say, I've done both, it's a really good thing to play it. So I still play cricket. And of course, it's not, no one's saying it's the same level, but I still understand the feel and the rhythm of cricket and the notion sometimes, extra cover needs to be a yard to his left because he's just hitting it uppishly that way. Still the same game. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just get deep square around a little bit. It's still the same game. Obviously, it's not played at the same level, but it's still the same mindset and the same rhythm and the same psychology. And I'm the same with football as well.
I think that's right with the ex-players. If you look at someone like Stuart Broad, who's done, I think, a really good job of transition from changing rooms to being on screen. But I was listening to Ricky Ponting talk about. He was talking about a setup of a bowler. That it takes about 2 overs. I think it's talking about Glenn McGrath to set somebody up. And he was just talking about, and then he knows the ball that's going to happen, and it's just so well articulated.
Yes.
They come across as, and he did it with, and I can't remember who he was talking about. It was like a recent match, and he said what he's going to do is going to go set up, outswing, inswing, and he's going to bowl him off peg with the.
And that's something that you and I couldn't do. You and I couldn't do that.
No, exactly.
There's no chance we have to accept, us non-players, we have to accept we couldn't do that. We don't understand that. We haven't been there. We can't see that.
And I think then that's an understanding of the role you play within the system, if you like.
Yeah.
So for me, very much, it's I will only stick to cricket, to radio commentary, because I think I can articulate the game better than I can as a non-ex player, if you like. Even though I've got one international cap, I must tell you, Sanjay Murthy.
Oh, have you?
Sanjay Murthy bowled Madan Lal 6 for Hong Kong in 1991 against India A. So there you go.
Yeah,
so that was my only cap.
Yeah, still one cat wonder. Nothing wrong with that.
One cat wonder. I have in that group exactly. It's and I found, as I said, that I couldn't add anything. I couldn't add any value to what another layman could see on the screen. But that does take us to the work you do with Gavin, with your TV trainers business. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
It's the why. I mean, there's so many people understandably want to get into the industry. I mean, lots of them in cricket, but they don't have to be. It's just an understanding of when you're training people, TV or radio, but particularly TV. Gav always says you've got to add to the why. Why is this happening? Now, that's my job to ask that question. The first, if you're from a presenter, you've got to learn to ask questions. Don't make statements. Ask questions. And I always put myself on the sofa at home. I watch other people all the time, and I go, I wonder what their first question is going to be. And sometimes I go, is there a question in this? Are you going to ask a question, or are you just going to make a statement? So you ask the why, the how. How has that happened? Why has that happened? When is that going to happen, or whatever? And that's just what we that's what we teach people. I mean, the thing about doing television, particularly more than radio, is I always say it's air miles. You've just got to do it and do it and do it. You're never going to be the person on day one that you would hope to be, after a year or 2 years or 5 years. And obviously you just need people then to appreciate and understand that you might have a little bit of potential and see where that is. But I think, that's the fundamentals. Because there are lots of different skills. If you're interviewing people or you're presenting, ask the why and the how. If you're commentating, what is the difference between radio and TV? As we've just said, radio, say what you see, describe it. TV, you've got to add all the time. And the other thing about TV is you can have the main commentator and the colour commentator. Now, the main commentator, even on TV, will be a little bit more. That's gone for fall through extra cover. And then the colour commentator will be a little bit more. That will definitely be the ex-pro. The main commentator is mainly an ex-pro now as well. But the colour commentator will be explaining why it's gone through extra cover. Why is he bowled there? Or why is he or she hit it there? So it's because the media is such a popular thing to be in. Increasingly, we find a lot of people, and they actually physically want to sit in a studio. So we have a studio that we can use where people want to physically sit in it, because you've got it. There's a lot to get used to in a TV studio. Which way do I look? With camera. And then in your ear, you can have up to 3 or 4 people talking to you at the same time. You've got a director, Gavin, say, look at camera 1. You've got a PA going, advert break in 20 seconds. You've got to hit advert breaks. That pays our bills. You've got a statistician saying that's the 3rd drop catch of the innings. There's an awful, and then you've got the producer going, don't forget to ask them about, why the leg spinner's playing today. So there's a lot going on at the same. People always say to me, how do you get used to all those voices in your head? And I say, well, the best thing really is to grow up in a noisy household and now live in a noisy household. And that's made it very easy to tune in and out. Which of these voices do I need to listen to right now? Which is the most important of the 4?
And you get them all at the same time, or do they? Is it structured?
Sometimes, yeah. Oh, absolutely, you can. Oh, yeah. And then sometimes they're talking. It's called open or closed talkback. And I need, as a presenter, have open talkback. I need to have all of it. The pundits, most of them do have an earpiece, will get closed talkback, so they'll only hear when they say, Sanjay, look at this. But sometimes on open talkback, they're talking to each other. And, it's not uncommon to hear a conversation along the lines of, do you want smoky bacon or prawn cocktail, Chris? And I'm going, really?
Must be difficult not to laugh.
Which camera? And I'm thinking, oh, maybe smoky bacon today. Yeah, but it's
and there's a button called the lazy as well, isn't there? That Gav talks about.
Well, there's a button called the lazy in the commentary box. There doesn't tend to be one in the presenter's box, but in the commentary box there is. Yeah. So if when you're commentating on, I think there's one in a football commentary box. It's a long time since I've done football commentary. I guess there is. But basically, if you press that will cut your voice to the world, but the director can hear you. Yeah. So you could press that button and go to the director. I don't know. Can you give me a close up on the goalkeeper? I think he's broken his finger or something. Do you know what I mean? Yes, you can do that. You don't have one in a presentation studio. No.
You said before, Test cricket is your main love. And obviously now that, we have a lot of franchise cricket around the world, and culturally it's very different the way that the broadcasters approach the way they present that Formula game. And you presented the IPL, didn't you, for ITV?
I did the first 2 or 3 years.
How did you find that compared with the TMS stuff, for example?
Well, that was just because it was so brand new. It was absolutely fascinating. I mean, it was so interesting because Sky didn't think anything of it. So ITV4 thought it was brilliant. And of course, it hit fantastic numbers and demographics, and because being the Indian Premier League, you can imagine. In certain parts of the UK, it was massive because of the British Asian community. It was huge. And it was particularly huge in places like Leicester. I think I remember people saying to me the figures in there are brilliant. But it made me laugh because it was so overtly commercial. Yeah. Literally, it was the first time we'd really come across sponsored sixes. And every time there was a six, the sponsor, I mean, it's all the stuff we're used to now. But the sponsor's name would come up and they'd play the trumpet or whatever. But the cricket was really good. But the other thing, Sanjay, is T20 cricket, obviously I went to the very first, whatever they call Vitality Blast game now. Surrey played Middlesex the Oval. We did it on 5 Live. I remember very clearly. But growing up, we playing 20 over cricket as a cricketer is what we played in the summer.
It was the Tuesday League.
I mean, obviously we played at the weekend, but if you think about where 20 over cricket came from, when people worked and people had jobs and factories and so forth, they played cricket in June and July at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was like 20 overs, and I played 20 over cricket with my dad, and it's a great game. I think the ECB look back on it and think they were ahead of the IPL, but they let the Indians get ahead of them, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. And prior to that, you keep referencing Martin Crowe developed that bit, that format of the game. That was essentially
I was there on that tour. I covered that tour for 5 in New Zealand, the cricket match tour. Yes. The big story of that. Yes, I remember it very. I think they gave tens or something. If you had a massive
something like I mean, some areas on the pitch, if you landed it in there, I think you got extra runs and stuff like that, didn't you?
Quite an interesting example of actually when you try to widen the appeal of a game, you've got to keep the integrity of the laws, otherwise it doesn't mean anything to people. And that's why that didn't work. Because people go, well, what's a 10? Or what if I hit it there or there? If I hit it at wide mid-on or deep mid-wicket, so what? I mean, it's the same place. Do you know what I mean? That's why people say to me sometimes, should the goals be bigger or goals be smaller or whatever, or, do this. I say, but the minute you fiddle with the law, the absolute integrity of the game in terms of the laws, it's not the game anymore. That, for me, that's why I struggle with the 100.
Right. Okay.
That's my main issue with the 100 is, what does 100 mean? It's not part of cricket. Just play a T20 game. But the 100's here to stay. And we're not going to have a big debate about the 100 because I understand the place. I understand the place it has. It's not for me, but I do accept that people come through the gate to watch 100 who don't watch any other cricket. I wish my biggest issue is, please, and I did say this to a former Test player the other day who didn't disagree with me, please don't carve out the whole of August just for it, so that I don't have anything to watch.
Yeah, that's
because also if you're trying to get boys and girls to watch Test cricket and you're using the 100 as a Trojan horse, that's fine. But actually, we've got to August. It's school holidays. You might have lit the bonfire under a few kids to watch Test cricket, and there's no Test cricket to watch because you're only playing the 100. That doesn't seem logical.
But also the Metro Bank 50 over stuff's on at the same time, or the London.
Yes,
one of the 50 over comms on, and it's basically second teams. And you're trying to get people
but
into
interestingly,
watch.
how good the crowds were. You mentioned Arundel. I played at Arundel, made a very good naught at Arundel once. Arundel. I live in the Cotswolds. They play at Rugby School, Warwickshire, and actually the crowds were really good this year. Really good this year. I think because people like me, let's be honest, who didn't want to watch the 100, thought, oh, that's really good cricket, and it's a nice surrounding, and we're different. And I see that the kids of tomorrow.
I think that's a good shout. If they are playing at picturesque grounds, let's say, or unusual grounds, then I think there's a merit in that.
Well, I mean, I'm sure you live in Hampshire. I mean, maybe they play at Basingstoke. I know that Surrey played at.
Guildford.
They might have played at Guildford. I think they played at Guildford. There's some lovely places to go and play.
Because Ali Brown got the fastest ever double 100 at Guildford a while ago. Because it's the same as Basingstoke. One side's really short, I think, and he kept whacking it onto the main road.
I mean, cricket's in an interesting position at the moment, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, the calendar is as chaotic as it was when I started this job 35 years ago. In fact, it's more chaotic. I mean, if you get the I've got the Cricketer magazine over the years, and you get the pull-out for the summer ahead. It's all different colours with the competitions. And I'm looking at it and go, oh, what is that? Yeah. It's impossible to work out what's going on.
Yeah, now it's like a triple fold-out to get all of the fixtures.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a good choice for the players, isn't it? Someone like a James Vince,
yes,
turning his back to a certain extent on domestic cricket, going to live in Dubai and just be, putting his family first.
He's
because
at that stage of his career, isn't he? He's at that stage of his career,
right?
Being a freelancer, and you can't blame him for that.
Yeah, no, 100%. No, I think, when does that become? I think one of the West Indies is a whole different ball game, but I think one of the I can't remember who it is now, retired reasonably recently. He was in his mid-20s, a spinner, I think, to go and play franchise cricket, because ultimately the board's not paying them enough money, so you can't blame them.
But it's a very lonely existence, and you don't really get in that camaraderie. You're slightly like, it's Monday, all right, I'm playing the Caribbean, it's Wednesday, I'm in South Africa, it's Friday, I'm in Faisalabad. You know, it's a lonely existence. I mean, you're making good money, but I don't think you really get that camaraderie. I mean, no names, no patch. I did say to one of them who played in the 100 this year, I went, well, you don't really care who you play for, do you?
No,
they went, not particularly. No, and I'm not criticising.
Yeah,
You know, then I think if you win the Vitality Blast for Hampshire, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. But I think if you win the 100 for the Southern Braves, well, that's nice. But I don't think
or whatever they'll be called this year.
Braves.
And that's the thing. Now the name changing now. It's just it will take.
Yeah, exactly.
I suppose it's the same as the IPL, isn't it? You know, in 2008 when it first started, no one cared about the Rajasthan Royals or the Royal Challenge Bangalore. But at least now there's some sort of level of, commitment, if you like, to the city more than anything else.
Yeah, but I think because we've got our counties. I've got my Sussex, because I grew up in Sussex Rosette from the 1979 Gillette Cup finals on my lampshade in my study. But, we've got those counties. Nothing is going to surpass the counties. I know they have their areas in the Ranji Trophy and so forth. But, I've just got the feeling that loyalty towards Bangalore or Mumbai or Kolkata or whatever seems stronger, doesn't it? It does. It does.
Stronger. It seems to be. Yeah. So I think we've firmly established that you are a cricket badger. But So how and when did football come calling you? From a professional sense.
Well, no, it happened at the same time, because growing up in the 70s, this football season ended. I mean, obviously there were Euros and World Cup. England weren't qualifying for the World Cup, to be fair. So actually it was very easy, because my dad wasn't a massive football fan, but liked it up to a point. But as soon as he realised I was his only son, I love football. He was like, right, I'll play with you and you can watch match of the day and the big match. But football ended and cricket started. So they were never competing with each other. Because they were very, very separate entities. Like, right, it's football season now, and you're going to play football, and then you'll start having nets in April, and then the football season will end, and then we'll play cricket. And then
players who did
the only thing you used to say, oh God, well, of course, Chris Balderson played for Leicestershire and Carlisle on the same day. Phil Neal with an E played for Lincoln City, captain of Worcestershire. The only thing he used to say to me was like, both of them obviously played for Scunthorpe.
Both of them obviously played,
I think there was a guy called Chris Marples who kept wicket for Derbyshire. I think was a goalkeeper at Chesterfield. He didn't go too far. I tell this story often because it really sums it up. When I was about 10 or 11, I said to my dad in sort of third week of August, I said something really innocuous like, Liverpool haven't made a very good start to the season because they were always champions. And he looked at me and he went, do not talk to me about football until the Test series is over. And I love that. It was such a good quote of his. And I felt like saying to that picture, bad news, Dad, the Test series is over in July now. But so it was very easy because, winter was football, rugby, racing, and summer was cricket. And it was great, and I even see with my own son, he's like, okay, towards the end of the football season, he's gone, right, that's been great. Now it's time to play cricket. And actually, it's really nice. I've got a WhatsApp group with my son and my 4 nephews. So all my dad's got grandsons. So they're all cricket mad. And it's literally been, this morning, it's been mainly about how the fielding has been as good as the fielding in our club, put it that way.
And do you find that the pressures of broadcasting the same regardless of the sport?
Yeah, because it's a pressure on yourself. It's a pressure on yourself to treat every single event with the same seriousness and realisation that the people there, I always say this. I went to the Grimsby Man United game. Grimsby obviously won on penalties. The people care about Grimsby as much as people care about Barcelona. Don't think they don't care any less just because they're called Grimsby and they're not as big as Barcelona. They deserve the same respect and attitude from you as if you're doing, the European Championship final in Berlin or the England winning the Ashes in Melbourne. It's so that's but it's the pressure you should put on yourself, which is respect for the occasion that you're covering, if that makes sense.
And as we come to the end of our time together here, did you take Roy Keane to the Lords?
Well, I'm going. It's on my hit list.
Are you going to?
It's on my hit list. I think he'd like a test. Well, I don't know. Would he like a test match or a one-dayer? I want to take him to a day's test cricket because I actually need him to see the lull. Do you know what I think? The first time I took my wife to Lords was South Africa's first game after readmission, and Kepler Wessels came out to bat. And after about 20 minutes, I said, "We're going we're going down to the bar. She went, I thought we had to watch every ball of Test cricket. I went, no, I'm telling you what's going to happen here. He's a very good batsman, but he's a really boring batsman, and he's going to block the hell out of it, and I'm thirsty. And we can come back in an hour's time. But I quite want Roy to see the lull of cricket. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The bit where everyone goes, oh, cricket's really boring. And you go, well, no, everyone's in a bit of a holding pattern here. And we're just going to see. It happens in football. You're going to have a holding pattern for 10. So we're just going to see what happens. I think he would understand that side of it. Do you know what I mean? Rather than the wham bam of a 50-over game. I think so. I think England, Australia at Lords. That's the aim.
So we're going to watch this space, and we'll do it a couple of years' time, I guess, now. So we'll have to do a pod and see whether it's actually happened or not. Mark, thank you very much for your time today on Close of Play, and good luck in everything else that you do.
Thank you, Sanjay. My pleasure.